soon as I heard that Matt Bourne was going to WWE, not as a clown, but as an evil clown, I thought, he's going to sink his teeth into this.
I am no more than an instrument of nature, a product of my environment.
As Matt Bourne enjoys the highest levels of wrestling fame, his demons threaten to destroy everything he's worked to create.
I heard comments that people have made about me, the reason I got Doink over is because I'm a sick motherfucker, need some serious help. There's times I think that too, but who isn't? Come on.
And when he was clean, he was a completely different human being. He was so put together, has nothing negative to say.
Matt lived fast and hard, and so it did not come as a shock when I learned that Matt had passed. He seemed to have a lot going for him.
Come on, tough guy!
But ultimately, Matt's biggest adversary was not a wrestler, but his demons.
You're not getting into the ring with some jabroni that puts on some clown outfit and calls himself Doink. It's Matt Bourne.
Well, by God, I may be a clown, but I'm going to rub your face in the mat. I'm going to beat you up, and it's going to be funny to me.
Doink the Clown is one of the most folkloric figures in pro wrestling, exploring an archetype that is largely childish, but which has simultaneously been widely explored by the entertainment industry as something evil. For many, Doink was a character far ahead of his time, and for others, an absurd clown. This is the paradox of Doink the Clown. In 1992, the WWF introduced an unexpected character to their TV broadcasts, a nameless clown. His debut, on Halloween, was something peculiar. Instead of wrestling, the mysterious character entertained himself by playing pranks on the children behind the barricade, while unremarkable matches took place in the ring. Unlike the usual matches, like Virgil defeating a local wrestler with a Russian leg sweep, Doink the Clown did much more interesting things, such as making a balloon animal for a child and popping it with a lit cigar. The fun was in the chaos and irreverence of Doink. The man behind the character was Matt Bourne, a wrestling veteran with 14 years of experience. His career, marked by stints in major territories like Portland, Dallas, Mid-Atlantic, and Mid-South, put him alongside names like Ted DiBiase and Jim Duggan. Bourne was a seasoned champion, but in the early 90s, he was fading into obscurity in the WCW, where he portrayed Big Josh, a smiling lumberjack. Although the character gained some visibility, it started to fade by 1992, and by August of that year, Bourne had left WCW after his contract expired. However, when Jerry Jarrett spoke highly of Bourne to the WWF, he was given the opportunity to try out his talent in September. This wasn't Bourne's first opportunity in the WWF. In 1985, he had been part of the company's lower card, even losing to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at the first WrestleMania. At the time, that moment seemed insignificant, but things would be different the next time Bourne returned to the WWF. After being hired, Bourne met with Vince McMahon, who wanted to learn more about his childhood as the son of veteran Tony Bourne. During the conversation, Bourne mentioned his father's former tag team partner, Lonnie Moondog Mayne, who, as Bourne remembered, was known for being quite the prankster. This led McMahon to suggest the creation of a clown character in wrestling, something that, although it had been explored in other forms, had never been approached this way. The concept of a grumpy and unfriendly clown had been suggested by Road Warrior Hawk sometime before, and McMahon decided to implement the idea. Bourne then prepared for the role of Doink, studying Cesar Romero's portrayal of the Joker in the 1960s Batman TV series. Additionally, Bourne reflected on his late father's old partner, Lonnie Mayne, who had passed away in a car accident. The Doink character, with his distinctive laugh, had a manic and unsettling touch. Although it seemed like he was just playing pranks on children, there was a true sickness behind his actions. The abrupt change from laughter to a dark stare with hollow eyes revealed Doink's evil side, a character who, despite pulling pranks, carried deep malice within. When the WWE presented more simplified characters, Doink stood out as a rare exception. Unlike other characters of the time, such as Mantor or Max Moon, Doink wasn't just a guy in a costume. Matt Bourne, the man behind the character, fully immersed himself in creating Doink, imbuing him with a complex and even dark personality. Although the comparison with Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of Arthur Fleck, the Joker, isn't entirely fair, there are similarities in the disturbing essence of both characters. Doink wasn't just a clown, he was a multifaceted character with depth and a manic behavior that stood out among the cliches of the era. In the early months of his appearance, Doink focused on playing pranks on the children who attended the shows, but soon he began to interact with the wrestlers themselves. After weeks of jokes, he started to interfere in the babyfaces' matches, causing confusion and discomfort. He would poke Tatanka in the eye with a mop handle or make Big Boss Man trip over wires carefully placed around the ring. However, these interactions usually didn't result in direct confrontations until January '93, when something changed, Doink by the arm and asking him to stop. But the situation quickly escalated. 2 weeks later, Doink appeared with his left arm in a sling, seemingly regretful. He offered but Doink's macabre enjoyment of hitting Crush was a clear introduction to his villainous character. With this attack, Doink was officially integrated into the WWE roster. His first matches, with green makeup and wig, were broadcast at the end of January 1993, and his rivalry with Crush culminated in a match at WrestleMania 9. However, rather than simply highlighting Doink as an eccentric villain, the commentators emphasized his in-ring abilities. Although he was a clown causing suffering and fun at the expense of others, he also proved to be a technically competent wrestler. This focus on Bourne's wrestling skills helped legitimize the character inside the ring, dispelling any doubt that a clown could compete at the same level as other athletes. Commentators like Bobby the Brain Heenan began to speculate whether Doink was using his clown persona to psychologically deceive his opponents, adding a strategic layer to the character. Thus, Doink was more than just an evil clown. He was a cunning wrestler, manipulating his adversaries with his tactics and wrestling psychology. In 1993, Doink began to shine in higher profile matches, further showcasing the complexity of his character. At WrestleMania 9, he defeated Crush with the help of a doppelganger. Matt Bourne's technical wrestling ability as Doink also stood out. In 1993, on Monday Night Raw, he starred in memorable matches, such as a King of the Ring qualification match against Mr. Perfect, an epic battle against Marty Jannetty in a best-of-3 falls match, and a heated confrontation with Macho Man Randy Savage. These matches highlighted Doink's versatility, as he not only embodied the eccentric clown character, but also showcased his skills as a talented technical wrestler. At SummerSlam 1993, Doink faced Bret Hart, but it was shortly after this event that the WWF made a significant change to his character. The company direction transformed Doink into a babyface, which many didn't expect. This change included altering his theme music from a haunting violin melody to a more festive version of Entry of the Gladiators, a traditional circus tune. Additionally, Doink began humiliating figures like Heenan and Jerry Lawler in various TV segments. Bourne believed this shift in direction was linked to his personal struggles with substances, which he admitted were out of control at the time. While still engaged in a rivalry with Bam Bam Bigelow, Doink retained a small trace of his old personality, but without the darkness he once had. However, Bourne's time in the WWF wasn't long. Around Survivor Series 1993, he was fired after being caught smoking marijuana in a hotel hallway, which, according to him, was reported to management by Bam Bam Bigelow. During this period, Hall had already been suspended, and the Brooklyn Brawler took over the role of Doink at live events. After Bourne's departure, Ray Apollo, a veteran wrestler, took over the Doink character. At Survivor Series 1993, there was a match between Bigelow and a team of Doinks, which were actually the Bushwhackers and Men on a Mission disguised with wigs and Doink's face paint. This match moved away from the pranks and mind games of the old Doink, embracing a more silly and exaggerated approach. With the change in style, Doink was now accompanied by a mini-me, a miniature clown named Dink. In 1994, the character became even more sanitized, with Doink turning into a figure of more innocent humor. He and Dink, always smiling, would irritate villains like Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett, and Jerry Lawler. His finishing move, the flying seated senton known as the whoopee cushion, took on an even more silly tone with the addition of a real whoopee cushion sound effect when he landed, a part of Doink's makeup. In this promotion, he expressed his unresolved anger towards the WWF. Opponents, he would humiliate them by dressing them in Doink accessories. However, his time in ECW was short-lived, and Bourne soon left the promotion to tour with other small companies, often portraying Doink, but with a sense of disdain for the character the WWF had created. The peak of Doink as an emerging star in the WWF came at the 1994 Survivor Series, when he captained a team of 3 miniature helpers, Dink, Wink, and Pink. Together, they faced Jerry Lawler and his 3 little wrestlers named Queasy, Sleazy, and Cheesy. The match ended in a comedic fashion, with a pie to Doink's face. This moment marked the height of the character, but shortly after he began to fall in the rankings, being used mainly in charitable initiatives, many of which were focused on children. The character was clearly worn out, and by September 1995, his career as a WWF wrestler came to an end after losses to opponents like Waylon Mercy, Dean Douglas, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. After his departure, Doink made occasional appearances in WWE, participating in special pay-per-views or themed legend shows, even disguised as the Ayatollah of rock and roller. These versions of the character typically didn't follow the 1993 transformation that made him a friendly and innocent clown. Doink was also portrayed by various people in independent promotions over the years, including former WWF enhancement talent Dusty Wolf. As for the infamous fight with Heidenreich outside of a Golden Corral, it marked one of the most unfortunate moments of Doink's life, but was far from being a memorable event for the fans. For many younger fans, Doink is remembered as the friendly clown, similar to Bozo, who made villains look foolish. This simpler version of the character became dominant in the past 25 years, with few exceptions. However, this view led to contemporary criticism of Doink. His more superficial version was seen as the embodiment of a wrestling industry that clung too much to comedy. When wrestling is viewed as a circus, the natural villain ends up being the literal clown. However, the criticism was not always negative. At one point, the character was a breath of fresh air, and despite being rejected by some more traditional fans, it still carried nuance and depth, especially in the versions portrayed by Matt Bourne. Many older fans still prefer to remember Doink with the complexity that Bourne brought to the character. He continued to wrestle as Doink until June 2013, just a few weeks before his death at the age of 55. During this time, he was in his best form, with the type of sociopathic, delightfully evil character that could have been pulled from comic books and horror films. The legacy of Doink is multifaceted. He was brilliant and vulgar, masterful and boring, trembling and tedious. Regardless of how he's remembered, the character holds a permanent place in the history of professional wrestling. What do you think of Doink's legacy in wrestling? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you in the next one.